Okay, the current US federal shutdown has entered its third week and is on the verge of becoming the longest federal shutdown in US history, only surpassed by, I believe, a shutdown under the Clinton administration that made big news at the time, which I think lasted 21 days, all told. We could surpass that. This is a partial shutdown, so places like museums and national parks and public attractions that are owned by the US federal government, such as historical places, register, things like that, are currently, visitors cannot visit them, they're under lock and key. However, it is affecting other government departments. 800,000 federal workers in total are on no pay or working without pay. And those that are working without pay are guaranteed back pay, which is going to become expensive in its own right down the line with the US federal government. We could have another shutdown because the back pay is going to be that much. This is carried on now because it's to do with presidential policy on the Mexican-US border issue with Trump. The Democrats oppose this policy, and there are a few Republicans who are a bit unsure on this policy as well. But this federal shutdown has wider implications economically. 800,000 federal employees in the US aren't getting paid right now. Only some of them will get back pay. Others won't. So others are just out of a job temporarily. The issue then is the private sector. You've got private sector contractors who come in to do the cleaning, the catering, supplies. There's other government contracts in research, a whole host, fuel, motor vehicles, maintenance, building maintenance, IT maintenance, a whole host of private sector companies, both based in the US and abroad. Even foreign companies do contracts for the US government, are going to be affected as well. When the departments they work for are shut down, they're not getting paid for the work that they could be doing. They can't do their job either, so their contracts are a bit under evaluation. Christ, we're losing money. The workers that aren't getting paid aren't spending their hard-earned dollars as much at the 7-Eleven, at the gas station, at the cinema. They may not be going and buying as many clothes. They may not be spending. They're not going to be spending money because they haven't gotten there, eating into their life savings. So economic output in certain areas is going to be affected. There are certain states such as Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, some of these very vast states with small populations that rely heavily on the federal government for employment. They're going to be affected. There are parts of some states that rely heavily on the federal government, such as anything to do with NASA. NASA's shut down. So anywhere with a NASA office or Cape Canaveral, they ain't working. So certain areas of certain states, such as Florida, a lot of federal employees. Maryland, loads of federal employees or people who work for the federal government in Washington live in Maryland. Parts of Virginia. You're going to have parts of Utah, military bases. Yes, there are some military supply personnel who are civilian, who are on half days or working voluntarily without pay. So this is more than just the federal government in Washington, D.C. This is nationwide. There are federal facilities from Alaska to Hawaii to Florida who are having their activities curtailed or shut down. And that will affect the local economy when they're spending money or not spending money. Because if a city or a county or a state is heavily reliant on federal employees, if they are not getting paid, the other industries and shops and retail and offices in the surrounding area will have less custom. It's plain and simple economics. This is going to have a knock-on economic effect. And when that back pay is paid to those federal employees that have earned it, that's going to cause yet more strain on the budgets for the federal economy going forward. So the longer this goes on, the actual worse it will get for the federal economy in the long term, and the federal budgets for the federal departments in the long term. One thing that has happened since Clinton's shutdown in the 90s is that there's new departments in the US government, such as Homeland Security, which didn't exist in the 90s, that exists now. So that means the federal budget has increased in real terms. What we can expect is this is going to be a record breaker. The impasse is going to continue, and from the rhetoric that's coming out of both sides, this could go on for weeks, months, years. So if you're a US federal employee, good God, that includes US mail. That's a federal thing. Federal Reserve Bank, NASA, military hospitals, military bases, civilian personnel, civilian contractors for the military, private contractors, will their contracts get paid if they're working on federal sites? You've got Department of Healthcare, Department of Transportation. Oh God, loads. Not every department is as affected as others. Some haven't been affected at all. But overall, national parks, museums, places of national historical interest, those kind of things, they're shut down. So things like that, tourist attractions are affected, which again affects the local economy. So there's knock-on effects with this US government shutdown. But it's ongoing. We're going to have a record breaker, I think. In my view, even though the rhetoric is very negative, I do think at some point one side's got to give. I think it could be in the House. I don't think it's going to be the president. I think it's going to be the Democrats might give some leeway a bit, but at the same time, there are other things going on with the US government right now and scandal. This is a very trying time for the US. It's a very uncharted territory for the US. Job growth is up, ironically, but if the federal employees aren't getting paid and those communities that rely heavily on the federal dollar, the federally earned dollar, to support the local economy, it's going to have a knock-on effect regionally. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. This is my outside the box looking in, non-American way of looking at things, because this will affect US personnel for the federal government over here in Europe and abroad. It will. There are loads of military bases that have civilian personnel that aren't getting paid right now here in the UK. So there are areas in the east of England where there are US military air bases where the civilian contractors aren't getting paid. And if they are getting paid, they're on half pay or reduced hours. So it is having an impact on a very minute scale here in the UK as well on US military personnel and the civilian contractors, which means they're earning less money, which means they're not spending their money in the local shops and pubs and local tourist attractions or whatever you may think of it. They're not spending their money either. So it has a knock-on effect. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll have some more videos for you soon. And please like and subscribe and place your comments below. Bye for now.